Just a couple of weeks ago, the last vessel bringing raw materials into Port Talbot left the harbour. Today marks another hugely significant moment with the last movements here at the blending plant behind us. Now, this is a crucial part of the steelmaking process. Without this place, it simply wouldn't be possible to have made the millions and millions of tonnes of steel that have been produced over the years. It's really the engine that drives the steelmaking process. So its importance really cannot be understated. I'm joined today by Dave Morgan, Works Operations Manager, to talk a little bit about the significance of the moment. Dave, it's clearly a difficult day for everyone, an emotional day. Just sum up, if you could, the emotions of the day for us, please.
Yeah, I think you're right, Huw. It's another significant day in the decommissioning programme for us here in Coke Centre and Iron and the burdening department. Yeah, full of emotion, a little bit of bittersweet sadness, but also some significant pride of how we've come to this cessation process. And I'm so proud of the team here, of what we've managed to achieve so far.
Now, looking behind us, Dave, it's probably as low as I've seen it in terms of the stock levels here. You mentioned that cessation process. Talk to us a little bit about that process, first of all, and what that means to the kind of stock levels we've got here today.
Yeah, so obviously we have a raw materials plan and a hot metal plan that we have to ultimately deliver. And the team here across Coke Centre and Iron and certainly in Burdening are driving that to the very end. But through that process, you will naturally see the slow process of reduction in raw materials because we ultimately, whilst we've got a plan to deliver, we're also trying to do it with a minimal amount of materials left on the floor at the end of that process.
Now, Dave, we mentioned at the top of the video the critical importance of the blending plant to the wider steelmaking process. Could you tell us a little bit, first of all, exactly what the role it plays in terms of the steelmaking process and also the history of this place?
Yeah, so, today sort of embarks at the final fines bed that we're building here behind us. So we've laid over 3,200 fines beds in its history, which is not insurmountable. And when you look at the history of the blending plant, it is the main artery that ultimately feeds the heart of the blast furnace process and also feeds into the sinter plant, which also feeds the blast furnace. So whilst the raw materials come in without the main arteries of any process, which the blending plant is, ultimately we don't achieve our ultimate goals. So.
And much like other areas of the site, I suppose, we've got some absolutely gigantic assets here at the blending plant, the bucket wheel reclaimer being one of them. Talk to us a little bit about some of those assets and what the role they play here.
Yeah, they're very significant, as you can see just over your left shoulder here. We've got 3 of our primary stackers that ultimately discharge the materials off the ship and the shipping system. Then we've got 2 significant bucket wheel reclaimers, much like you see down in Morva, and we have the same process here in the blending plant. So those bucket wheel reclaimers pick the materials back up for reprocessing back through the blending plant, as we touched on. And then just over my left shoulder, we've got 2 fully automated stacking machines, which unbelievably run themselves from a fully automated system. So, yeah.
And just finally, Dave, people might be wondering, we're saying it's the last movements here today, yet the furnace is still running for another two and a bit weeks. Talk to us about the thought process behind that.
Yeah, so like we talked about the natural reduction of raw materials, one of those is the significant fines bed that you see over my left shoulder. It's typically taking about 10 days to reclaim currently. So as we do that fines bed, which is reclaimed back to the sinter plant, will naturally take us from a week Tuesday as we start reclaiming it, take us right up till about the 27th and 28th, which is just before we come to the closure and the cessation of blast furnace 4 in the sinter plant. So like we talked about the raw materials, we're trying to finish on that 6 months.
Dave, thank you very much for your time. I bring in now Ruth Lowe, who's the raw materials technical manager here. Ruth, people may look around and see the different colours of materials in the beds behind us and think that's a lot of different materials, but that's not necessarily the case, is it?
Yeah, not necessarily at all. So what you really see behind us is primarily ore-based. We import probably circa 8 million tonnes over the last couple of years of materials. That's including all our carbon products as well. But really what you're looking at here is the ore, and that's brought in from a range of places around the world. So you've got your Brazilians, your Scandinavians, African, Canadian, things like that. And there really is a big mix in that bed. It's obviously changed over the years, but there's a huge mix really from around the world of what we import and what we use.
So the journey of that raw material, you touched slightly upon it there, but once the material reaches site, what happens to it then?
It's a bit of, well, it depends on where it's going really, doesn't it? But, we had the last vessel in last week, and I'm sure we've documented that process and it coming in from the harbour into the yards. But really the first point is the primary yards, which is just behind us here, and then it comes over to the secondary, so you can see the fines bed being built. So the north yard is what we're currently reclaiming. That's the one furthest away, and then there's the south bed, which is all built, being built ready to go into the sinter plant, and that's really the process. I think the bit that we're missing here, because there's not really much to see, is the secondary yards, but for the direct charge. So that's where we bring in our lump ores and some kind of ravelings and really high value materials that we can then put into the furnace directly as well.
Dave touched upon, the difficulty of the day, the emotion of the day for the teams involved here. Not just the people working here, but the people who have worked it over the years. You must get a sense of that emotion too.
Yeah, entirely. I mean, it's a heavy day, it's a huge milestone in terms of going to green steel, and it's a big event, and there will be lots of these. It's the end for everything here, but they're huge events, and it just carries so much emotion. And I think sometimes we are so involved in the day-to-day and moving forward, and we are really looking at moving forward now and what's next and what we need to do, but that doesn't take away how heavy it can be, and it's such a monumental moment and a history behind it, really. It carries a lot, it really does.
Yeah, you mentioned that word end there. It is the end of one chapter, but of course the start of a new chapter. A brighter, a greener steelmaking future. We mustn't forget that.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And I think the focus for us now is looking forward, and it really is change, and it's positive change. I think it carries a lot of emotion, but it's what's new and what can we do more, and it's the right direction, I think, is the big thing here.
Well, you heard there from Ruth. She mentioned the word change, but positive change. So while it is a difficult day, as we mentioned a number of times, it is the start of a brighter future, a greener future for Tata Steel UK. If you liked the video, please leave a comment. If you've got any questions for us, if there's anything else on site that you'd like to see that we haven't covered already, please leave that in the comment section and we'll cover as much as we possibly can. In the meantime, Ruth, Dave, thank you so much for your time. Very, very grateful as always.
Thank you, Huw.
Thank you. Thanks.